Well, firstly, performance in our accident emergency departments is not good enough. I have been candid about that, as has the Health Secretary. Our National Health Service is dealing with backlogs created by a COVID pandemic. Indeed, it is still dealing with the impact in many different ways of that COVID pandemic. So we continue to support the National Health Service to recover, and that includes accident emergency, as it does all parts of our National Health Service. Of course, it is incumbent on me to point out again that while there are big challenges in our NHS and in A&E departments, our A&E departments remain the best performing anywhere in the United Kingdom, which is down to the dedication and hard work. Thank you. Down to the dedication and hard work of those in our National Health Service. Of course, staff numbers are at a record high across the NHS, and investment is at a record high. So while I am not complacent, the Health Secretary is not complacent, yes, we do believe that the measures he set out in terms of the recovery plan update and indeed the winter plan will make a positive difference. Finally, Presiding Officer, it is frankly it beggars belief that Douglas Ross stands here today and talks about the National Health Service, because I think his concern for the National Health Service today is even less convincing than it normally is, because of course he spent much of the last week arguing for us to take millions of pounds and put that into the pockets of the richest people in our society, regardless of the impact that would have on our National Health Service. Douglas Ross.
First Minister, please don't ever question my commitment to our National Health Service. When it was just over a year ago, I had to follow my wife in an ambulance as she gave birth. When it was just over a year ago that I had to see my infant child on oxygen and fed through a tube in Aberdeen Sick Kids Hospital. Don't make political points out of this when politicians are raising serious issues. Because just like last year, when the UK Armed Forces had to step in to help, we are seeing this crisis spread throughout Scotland's NHS. Long waiting times in A&E have a knock-on effect on the rest of our health system. A Freedom of Information request that we've received shows that ambulances are queuing outside hospitals because of the crisis inside in A&E. In Glasgow earlier this year, one ambulance was stuck outside the hospital for more than 13 hours because the patient couldn't be admitted. 13 hours stuck outside. And the Press and Journal revealed today that in just the last month, ambulance turnaround times at Aberdeen Royal Infirmary were at a record high. This is critical time when ambulance could be deployed to help other patients. So, First Minister, if you could answer about Scotland's NHS and about Scotland's ambulances, can you tell us what your government is doing to prevent ambulances being held up outside hospitals?
First Minister. Well, of course, £45 million for the Scottish Ambulance Service was part of the winter plan that was announced, and that is about Scotland's National Health Service. Can I say, Presiding Officer, I have enormous sympathy for the personal experience of Douglas Ross, as I do for the personal experience of anyone on the National Health Service. But I am sorry, Presiding Officer, I do think it is reasonable to question the commitment to the National Health Service of anybody who argues for millions of pounds of taxpayers' money to go to cutting taxes for the richest in our society rather than be invested in the National Health Service. It is because of this government's commitment to the National Health Service that we do not shy away from the difficulties that it is facing, largely because of the COVID pandemic that has placed these burdens on health services across the world. But that is why we are investing in our National Health Service instead of giving tax cuts to the richest in our society. That is why we are supporting greater recruitment in our National Health Service. Staffing numbers are an all-time high. And of course why we are seeking a fair pay deal with those who work in our National Health Service, because they do deserve it. So we will continue to do the hard work to support our National Health Service in tough times as well as in good times. And finally, Presiding Officer, we will take no lessons from the UK government who are doing real damage to the National Health Service. Our NHS faces challenges, but on A&E waiting times and on many other measurements, Scotland's National Health Service is the best performing in the UK, and that is down to the dedication of those who work within it.